So I wanted to talk about the legislature's Employee Whistleblower Protection Act. In California's government code entitled to Division 2, Part 1, Chapter 1.5, Article 11, boy, that's a mouthful. It's called the Legislative Employee Whistleblower Protection Act, and it's contained in sections 9149.30 to 9149.36. Section 9149.31 provides a legislative finding and declaration that in addition to existing retaliation protections that are under the California Labor Code, as well as the California Fair Employment and Housing Act under the Government Code, it is necessary to establish a specific process for legislative employees who report legal and ethical violations so that they may do so without fear of retribution. Section 9149.32 provides definitions for these terms: interfere, legislative employee, protected disclosure, retaliate, and use of official authority or influence. Section 9149.33 prohibits a member of the California legislature or a legislative employee from directly or indirectly using or attempting to use that individual's official authority or influence for the purpose of interfering with the right of any legislative employee to make a protected disclosure. An individual who violates this section of the government code is subject to a fine not to exceed $10,000 and imprisonment in a county jail for a period not to exceed 1 year. In addition, an individual or entity that uses or attempts to use its official authority or influence for the purpose of interfering with the right of a legislative employee to make a protected disclosure is thereby liable in a civil action for damages brought by that legislative employee. Government Code Section 9149.34 provides that an individual who intentionally retaliates against a legislative employee for having made a protected disclosure is subject to a fine not to exceed $10,000 and imprisonment in a county jail for a period not to exceed 1 year. Section 9149.35 states that an individual or entity that intentionally retaliates against a legislative employee for having made a protected disclosure is then liable in a civil action for damages brought by that employee. Also, the burden of proof is on the offending party to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that the alleged action would have occurred for legitimate independent reasons, even if the legislative employee had not made a protected disclosure. Now, if liability is established under this section, then the prevailing plaintiff is entitled to recover his or her reasonable attorney's fees and costs. Moreover, punitive damages may be awarded by a court if the acts of the offending party are proven to be fraudulent, oppressive, or malicious. And finally, Government Code Section 9149.36 clarifies that this article of the Government Code does not limit the application of any other rights or remedies under either federal or state laws, and any penalties imposed or damages awarded under this section of the Government Code are in addition to those that are provided under any other federal or state laws.